join using the YouTube link. Let me see. Is everybody able to join now? It's live on YouTube. Let me try to get the YouTube link. Okay, that's YouTube. Okay, so it's going to go live on YouTube. So if anybody wants to watch it, they can watch that as well. So here's the YouTube link. I will also send that to anyone who wants to join.
Yeah, could you please share the YouTube link?
Yep, just give me a minute.
All right.
I'm trying to, it takes me a while to get all the mailing.
Yeah, take your time.
Yep, so I've sent that to you also via email. Okay, so you guys can post any questions you have. Can you do two special? Oh, okay. So I think you can. So say you have to take 30 credits in total, and I think for the ML specialization you'll need to take 10 credits, and I think for the interactive intelligence also you need to take 10 credits. So not 10 credits. Wait, am I right? You need to take one core course, and I think you need to take 5 courses. I'm sorry, if I'm not wrong. So you need to take 5 courses, and totally I think you should be taking about 10 courses. So you can take 5 and 5, but you should you can't choose. I mean, if there's a particular course that overlaps between the two specializations, say ML and interactive intelligence is a particular course that counts to both, you can make it count only towards one specialization. So as long as the courses don't overlap and you can take um, courses that count towards both ML and AI separately, then it's fine. But in all honesty, your specialization doesn't really matter. Do we have to decide? No, so you I think you need to specify your specialization soon, but you can always change, as in there's a freedom to change your specialization whenever you want before graduate, as long as it's before graduation. And I actually know people who change specialization to ML or and something else just because they want a course, they want higher priority for a course in that specialization. So it really doesn't matter that much. No, there's no such thing that this particular course can be taken only if you specialize in it. But I think is when you become, I mean, probably in your first semester, it's not going to make a difference. But then after that, when you do register, you get priority if you're specializing. I mean, if that course counts towards your specialization, basically. I think you get to register earlier than the others would. There was another question that I missed. Can you type that again? Is there any way to get our master's converted to PhD? I don't know anyone who's converted their master's to PhD. Basically, you can, I mean, people apply to a PhD after as in like to continue to PhD after master's, but there are certain requirements that you can finish during your master's, which you won't need to do during your PhD, as in maybe certain courses, and also you have to do these many number of teaching assistantships. So say you do that during your master's, then you don't have to bother with that during your PhD. You can just do research assistantships. Oh, so is it common for master's students to opt for thesis track? So I would say not really. And as far as I know, most professors also discourage that. So if I mean, you should probably, if you want to do a thesis, you might as well just apply to a PhD or like start doing, try to figure out how to do a PhD as soon as possible. I think an MS with project is like the perfect midway between coursework and thesis. So because you get to try out research and you can maybe make a project out of it. But if you actually want a thesis, you might as well apply to a PhD because it doesn't make sense to do a thesis without a PhD. So getting an RA or TA in your first semester is not impossible. I would say definitely email almost every professor that you can think of or who you feel might be interested in your work. And I'm not saying that, I'm saying this doesn't have to be specific to the CS department, because there are a lot of professors in other departments who are looking for people who can code. So, and you probably have a better chance at even getting those because there are not many programmers in their department. So I think definitely if you have some work experience, I've heard that helps. So, but even if you don't, there's no harm in trying. Email everyone you can and hopefully you'll get something. Yeah, so how or when do you approach your faculty? So I'd say you can even start emailing them right now, like email them maybe just a month before you arrive or something. So because you don't have to sit and wait. You probably once you come here, you might regret not emailing them when you're back home and they probably had positions available. So I'd say start right away. Just email them saying you've read about their work, you're interested in this and this, and you have this, you've done these projects in this area, and you feel like you might be able to help them out in that. If it's an RA, or if it's a TA, you can say you've already done this course in your undergrad and you did really well in it. So you feel that you can do a TA for that course. So just, yeah, I think email is the best way. I don't know if any of you have your GATEC email IDs yet, but if you do, definitely email them through your GATEC ID instead of your personal email. Okay, no, not yet. Okay, that doesn't come. I'm not sure when you get your GATEC ID, so maybe if you're getting it soon enough, if you get it soon and if you haven't received a reply yet, you can always email them again through your GATEC ID. So that should be fine. So usually it is, you do need an A in the course. Some professors say that you have to take their course before you TA their course, but you could get really lucky sometimes. So I'd still give it a shot. I mean, if you did decently in your undergrad, or if you have done enough work in that field, even if you haven't really gotten a good grade in it in your undergrad, you can still apply. I mean, there's no harm. You can try for any area that you feel that So I mean, if you get it, great. If you don't, there's nothing lost. Okay, so somebody is asking if they can change their specialization. Yeah, you can. I guess that's a smart way. Maybe it's probably the cheats way to get a course that you want. In ML, say you want to do ML and your specialization is systems, you can always change your specialization just before registration and get those courses. So, I mean, they're not gonna do anything about that. You can always change back later if you want to. Okay, so someone's saying, so Siddharth says professors don't reply and you're not sure if repeated approaches will be the right path. So, well, I wouldn't say keep repeating, keep emailing them. I would say email them once. And if they don't reply, then maybe wait till you get your GATEC ID and then email them again through that ID. And if they don't reply again, then you can always come here and approach them directly, go to their office hours or something, and just ask them if they have anything available. I am in the ML specialization. Okay, so somebody is asking me if they should go with the course option or the project option. So I would say, if you're not sure, as in if you just want to see what research is like, and if you're not sure if you want to do a PhD or not, it's a really good idea because you don't have the requirement of completing a thesis, and at the same time you can also take 9 research credits and just make a small project out of it if you just want to see what it's like. So yeah, I think a project option is a really good idea if you're not sure about your PhD, or if you're not sure about research, then you can always take the MS with project. Um, so yes, you can always take courses out of your specialization, as long as you complete not as long as you complete, basically by the end of your degree, you need to complete these many courses in your specialization, then you're good. It doesn't matter what other course you've taken outside that. No, you don't have to change specializations to take courses outside. Okay, so maybe we can just switch to, so if I don't see any of your comments, on the actual Hangouts link, you can probably type it into YouTube, because I'm switching tabs right now, so I might keep missing them. I'll probably stick to YouTube. Which subjects have maximum demand? So I guess that depends on your specialization. I think every specialization will have a certain course that almost everyone wants. So if it's the ML specialization, it's obviously ML. And I mean, almost everybody wants to do ML. Maybe not like probably not in their first semester, but then I know a lot of people who are in their third semester and they want to graduate and they have to take ML. So most of the time, getting ML in your first sem is not that easy, I'd say. It's usually full, but I mean, I got it in my first semester. Mm, yeah, so the specialization page has actually been updated recently. Um, I heard that, so initially when I joined, there were a lot of courses that weren't even being offered anymore on the specialization course. And there were a lot of courses that actually count towards your specialization but weren't listed on that page. So I think right now it's probably the most updated version. But you can always email the MSCS coordinator, you can email Judy and say you want to take this course, and if you feel that it's kind of relevant, so say you're doing ML, you're doing your ML specialization and you take AI, and you feel that that's somewhat relevant to your ML specialization, you can always email Judy and ask if it could count towards your specialization. I mean, it's not, they're not very rigid about that as far as I know. Um, so do master students become TAs for undergrad courses? Yes, definitely. You should apply to undergrad courses. There's a very good chance that you could be a TA for an undergrad course. Um, so, wait, this is okay. So, if you're taking ML as your specialization, which subject would I recommend? So, well, I would say take ML. I mean, definitely take ML because it's a really good idea to finish all these difficult core requirements initially, and maybe towards your final semester you can focus on something else like job search. So, but I mean, it's going to be hard. A lot of people don't take ML in their first semester because it's too hard. It's pretty overwhelming for them. Um, but I would say maybe take it, go sit for the first few classes, and if you feel like you're not able to do it, then it's fine. I mean, that's how I felt. I was extremely scared when I took ML first, but now I'm so glad I finished it in my first semester. How many courses? So you have a minimum requirement of taking 12 credits, which means 4 courses. So and I did not want to get more ambitious. I took only 4, and I think most people take only 4. It's very rare that they take more than 4 courses. So yes, Dhruv Batra and Devi Parikh, they're both in Georgia Tech right now, which is really awesome. But they have, I think, even though they joined, I've not really, they've not been taking any courses. I think they actually start taking courses also only next semester. So they're very new to Georgia Tech. So I'm actually not sure about, I mean, they're about whether they're already going to take students in for projects. I mean, no harm in approaching them. You definitely can because they are legends in deep learning. So it's going to be their first semester. I mean, it's going to be Dhruv Batra's first semester and Devi Parikh's first semester of teaching in Georgia Tech this fall. Do you plan to search for ML related jobs or a general software developer profile? You can search for both. It depends again on your resume, your previous, if you have any previous work experience, your previous work experience, and basically like all the skills that you have. So I feel like right now on my resume, there's a very small chance I'd be called for a software engineering interview because most of the stuff I have is machine learning related. So I guess I have a higher chance of getting an ML related job, but you can always apply for both. Just apply for anything you're interested in. And I know people who aren't even in the ML specialization, they've probably taken the ML course and now they feel like they can apply to ML jobs. So it's entirely, there's no restriction. Where can I see a list of courses I'll be offered in fall 2017? I think you might have to wait for your GATEC credentials for this because there's a particular website called Passport where you can go and check all the courses that are look up classes, register for classes, and anything like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you need your GATEC. It's called bussport.gatec.edu, and you'll need your GATEC ID to log in and check. How heavy is the workload for RA or TA? Will taking 4 courses in a job be very difficult? So the thing about the CS department is if you get an RA or a TA, that counts as 3 credits. So you can take 3 courses and an RA or a TA, and you still have full course load. So it's not additional to your 4 courses. It counts as, you can say it counts as a course, except you don't get any credits for that. It doesn't count towards your degree. So yeah, so if it's just 3 courses and an RA or a TA, I think it's not bad at all. Again, the workload depends entirely on the professor you're working under. So so there could be certain courses where you're expected to do a lot of work, as in where you have to make assignments, grade them, do office hours, answer questions. Whereas on the other hand, there are some courses where they only want you to grade. So it depends. You can't. I mean, I can't tell that it's. I mean that it's very little. It might be a lot depending on the professor you're working under. But it's still not bad. You can manage with 3 courses. Is there any max limit? I think 21 credits. Wait, you can take 7 courses maximum in a semester. So 21 credits. But I don't think anyone should do that. Okay, how long does it take to land an internship? So that again depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how proactive you are, how much you apply, and how lucky you are at getting interviews. You could get it as early as September, or you could get it as late as April and May. So it depends. Do I happen to know people pursuing social computing? I'm not too sure, but let me note that down so that if I do find somebody, I can email the contact to all of you. Okay, I don't have any prior experience in ML. Should I stop me from taking ML as a specialization? I would say you can always. I mean, I don't think anything should stop you. It might be a little tougher if you know nothing in ML, but I know. I mean, there are quite a few people who have absolutely no background in ML and still take the ML course and the specialization. And honestly, I mean, I guess for most people, ML is probably what I mean, the Andrewing course on Coursera. Except when you come here and you take ML, you realize that it's actually a lot tougher than that. It's extremely mathematical. So even for somebody who says that they know a lot of ML because they've watched all these lectures on Coursera, it's still not going to be easy. It's a lot more math than you would think it is. So I don't think they have that much of an advantage over somebody who's not done it. I mean, who doesn't know ML. Um, do a lot of people graduate from College of Computing in about 3 sems? Yes, definitely, because you need to have taken 30 credits to graduate, and that is very doable because especially if you are taking if you're not doing an RA or a TA, you already have 12 and 12 in your first 2 semesters, and then you only need about 6 credits in your final semester, which you can easily do. Even if you do an RA or a TA, it's still possible to graduate in 3 semesters. It's just that you might not be able to take reduced course load in your final semester. Um, what are the class strengths like? That depends a lot on the courses you're taking. So something like machine learning or data and visual analytics, such courses have about 200 to 300 people easily inside the class. So whereas some very specific courses I know have only about 30 students or so. What are the prerequisites for taking ML? So I don't think, I mean, the professors don't really insist on any prerequisites. They just say it's recommended if you have some background in this area or that area. So if it's ML, it's usually some linear algebra knowledge and some probability knowledge would help a lot. So, but again, it depends on the professor who's conducting the course. So in my fall semester, machine learning was taken by Lee Song, and I think he's not taking that course anymore. So you might not have that much math if it's another professor. Computer system students go for software developer jobs. Yeah, definitely. I think most of the computer systems people that I know are doing software engineer internships. Yeah, so yes, if you do an RE, you can take, 3 course credits for the RE. So you don't need to take 4 other courses, you only have to take 3 other courses. But those 3 course credits do not count. They're actually like audit credits. So out for your 30 total, the 3 you're taking in a semester for an RE or a TA does not count. That's the only thing. It counts towards your course load per semester, but not towards your degree, your total credits in your degree. How common is it for master's students to apply for research labs, positions for their internships or job? It is pretty common if research is your area of interest. In fact, I know quite a few people who end up staying back in the summer and just doing an RA for the summer and in a particular lab that they want to work in. So I think most of the MSCS with coursework, most of the students who take that option, they generally tend to do jobs. Go to companies and not do research positions. But yeah, it's definitely an option. I know some people who are more interested in research and work in research labs. And I don't think it's that hard to get them. I think the process is, but you'll probably need to show some research work in the field. I guess having an RA in that area would help a lot. Are 7 courses harder than 6? Um, well, I think in general, anybody who takes more than 4 courses is going to struggle unless you're really, 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 really smart. So I would say definitely take only 4 courses actually for credit, as in like with a letter grade. Oh, you mean 7-star courses? Okay, so actually, I don't think so. I mean, they Ideally they should be, but I feel like there are some courses that start with 6 that are extremely difficult, like the algos course. The 6505 course is quite hard, and I mean, I don't think that it's the general rule that the 7 courses are, because I took one, I think, machine learning for trading, which starts with 7, I think 7646 or something, and that was not too hard. And I know certain courses that start with 6 that are a lot harder than that. Networking subjects like computer networks. Okay, so I know for a fact that computer networks is extremely easy. I'm not sure about the other two, so maybe I'll note that down and check with somebody's taken that. Okay, how stressful has the ML specialization been for you? So there are certain courses that are quite difficult. So definitely the machine learning course is an extremely difficult course. But again, I would say that depends on the professor. So I took it under Professor Lee Song, and I do not think that Lee Song is going to take that course in the upcoming semester. And that's in the fall.
नहीं
And
नहीं
in the spring, I think the course was taken by Isabel. So if you take it under Lee Song, that course is extremely mathematical. It's not much coding to do. It's a lot of linear algebra and probability. So I would say if you have a good grasp on linear algebra and probability, then it's probably not as hard as the others. I mean, as somebody like me who I didn't have a very good grasp. I mean, I thought I did, but turns out I didn't. So but you can still survive. You can, I mean, you probably have to work a little more and get study a little bit of math before you do that. But I would say it's not too hard to survive that course if you have maybe maybe from a really good study group, and if you have any questions they can help you out, so something like that. Whereas Isabel's course on the other hand was not much math at all. That is more of an application type of course where he just give you this data set and say try all these algorithms on it and write reports, and which actually even the data set I think you have to choose and write reports and say why this algorithm performed better than that and something like that. So that's probably easier for somebody who's not who doesn't have that much of a math background. But I don't think I would recommend. I think that's more of something that undergrad students should take. As a grad student, you should probably take a course that has more math in it. So maybe I think the next semester it's not going to be taken by Lee Song, but it's going to be taken by I think Byron Boots. I'm not too sure, and I've heard that he's a good professor too. So, and quizzes and assignments, so that also depends. So usually they're quite spaced out. So you'll have about, I guess, if for a course like ML, you'll have about 4 assignments that are spaced out throughout the semester, and 1 midterm and a final. So it's not bad if you start early. I can tell you that. So, I mean, most of the time I usually struggle the day before a deadline. But if you start early enough and if you plan out all these assignments and quizzes well enough, it should be okay. Yes, I will provide you with a graduate student in computing systems. What are some of the on-campus jobs available relevant to CS and how to apply to them? So as far as I know, no CS student does an on-campus job because there is simply no time for that. I mean, you can work in the library. There are quite a few options. You can work at the student center where they have a lot of these restaurants, these fast food joints. But definitely, I don't know any grad student actually who has done an on-campus job other than a TA or an RA. And in the case of a TA or an RA, it does count as 3 credits. Whereas if you do an on-campus job, it doesn't. So you have to do 4 courses and the job. Most of the time, I don't see that. I don't see anybody doing that. And we should probably maybe after your first semester, if you feel like it wasn't too hard, you can apply. But I think initially you should. I mean, it's gonna be a little too hard to do an on-campus job. To get a TA in our second semester, should we be trying to take courses now that are offered in both semesters? Okay, so most of the time, even if a course is not offered in, so say you take a course in the fall and in the spring it might not be offered, but there's a very good chance that it's still offered for the online master's students. And you can always TA an online master's course as well. And in fact, I'd say that might be easier because you don't have to host office hours because nobody can come to your office. I mean, you can do online office hours, I think. So um, I think, I mean, you can always apply, even if the course is not offered. I'm pretty sure it will be offered for the online students, so that's fine. And even if it's not, I mean, even if it's not offered for online students, you can just approach that professor saying you did well in their course. Is there anything, any assistantship that they can give you in maybe another similar course, or any research assistantship they can give you because you did well in that area. How many students did not get a good internship in CS? Most people do get internships. You just have to proactively apply, I'd say. So, I mean, there are cases where you don't end up getting a good internship, but I mean, such people, what they do is they stay back and they probably do a TA for the summer semester, or they do an RA. So you'll be doing something. There's a very small chance that you won't have anything to do in the summer. Do people usually go for co-ops? As far as I know, co-op is usually a trend I see in the ECE department, but not so much in the CS department. And I think there are a lot of really good courses that are offered in the fall. So you might actually miss out if you go for a fall co-op. Where can we find the list of companies which come for career fair? I think even that you might need your Gartec ID. Um, there's a career buzz website that we have, but you can just assume that almost any company in CS that you can think of would come for the Georgia Tech career fair. So, and even if they don't, it doesn't matter because you can apply online. So, I don't think there's any company that you cannot apply to. Oh, what do you suggest we brush up on? So, I would say, I mean, the interview process is pretty much the same as it would be in India. So, always definitely brush up on your algorithms, data structures. Make sure um, you know your big O notation well, and all your basic data structures, trees, and maybe if it's a really if you know if they're good companies, they're big companies like maybe Google or something, then they definitely I think they ask a lot of graph questions. So yeah, the basic stuff, cracking the coding interview is what everybody would recommend for general interview prep. So yeah, basically, if you have your data structures and algorithms, if you're strong on that, then you can crack most of the interviews. Um, and if you're applying for maybe an ML specific position or something like that, then you might have an ML specific interview apart from that. But yeah, so for something like that, it's not going to be too hard. You just have to brush up on all your ML concepts and maybe think of questions like which model to use for which application and what is the advantage of something like random forest over linear regression or something like that. Suggest any books you should refer to before joining for ML. I think well, there's a book for linear algebra, which I forgot the name of. Just give me a minute, I'll check that. Mm. There's a book called, there's a book by Bishop on pattern recognition that is really good for machine learning. But I honestly think that all that might be a little dense, something like because in all honesty, I would have probably just watched a few lectures on some of those Stanford lectures to just get a
जॉर्जिया
grasp
टेक का
of the
ऐसे एक चल रहा है तो वो
concepts.
सुन रहे थे. जॉर्जिया टेक
But
का ऐसे एक कॉल चल
I
रहा
would
था वो
say
सुन रहे थे.
reading an ML book by Bishop. That's that's a really good book. That's actually a book that's recommended for the course. But maybe before you join, if you try reading that, might be a little overwhelming for you. I would just say definitely brush up on linear algebra and probability, just anywhere. Um, so should we brush up on stuff for courses, and do profs generally expect us to code in a particular language? So most of the time, I think you can see if you want a particular course, most of the time if you just look it up online with the course code, professors usually have a website for that course, and they tell you and they talk about their assignments and their programming languages. Um, so I think for Lee Song's course in ML, we actually had to code in MATLAB, but that might not be the case anymore because he's now going to take that course. And I didn't know anything in MATLAB, but it wasn't too hard. So, and I guess most of the ML courses, the language we use is Python, other than the actual ML course where we use MATLAB. Um, what are the fundamental subjects I should enroll in the first semester for ML? Um, try to enroll for ML. If you find it too hard, you can always drop it before the deadline. And then there's some really good courses. So I took machine learning for trading, which I really liked. Basically, in machine learning, I learned a lot of the how the algorithms work and the math behind it. And machine learning for trading is where I actually got to apply all the ML algorithms. So that was a really good course that I took. And I also took this course called Data and Visual Analytics. So which was very helpful because we learned a lot of different it was a very broad course, so I learned a lot of new technologies and tools that I could add to my resume after that course. So if you feel like you're lacking, if you feel like you don't have too many things to put on your resume right now, it's probably a good course to take. And again, I think you should also watch out for this. So there are some courses that are offered only in the fall or only in the spring. So maybe when you look up courses, when you do get access to Buzzport, also look up whether the course that you want is also offered in the spring. And if there's a course that's offered only in the fall, then I'd say give it higher priority because you won't have it the next semester. Do we need to buy any books from here if it's expensive there? Maybe you can buy Cracking the Coding Interview. That's probably one good book you should buy, because it's always helpful to actually have the book and the online version. But I haven't bought any books. I haven't felt the requirement because usually if there's I just use course material or the professor's slides for studying. But you can always ask your friends from India to get you the PDF version of a book or something. And yeah, books are pretty expensive here. So isn't the library sufficient for books? Well, it is. I mean, but sometimes you might not be able to. You might not get a hold of if you don't get hold of a particular book on time, then you probably won't get it all semester. So I heard that. So when you take the Algos course, it's quite hard to get the CLRS book because almost everyone takes it. Is Python the general coding language for non-ML related courses as well? I'm not sure. Actually, I probably not. I should probably check about that.
Hey Kiran, sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
just wanted to know what's the platform for asking you the questions.
Oh, it's on the YouTube live chat.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because I found it hard to switch between Hangouts and YouTube, so I thought because YouTube has more viewers, I mean, there's more people who can join, I switched
Okay.
to that. Yeah,
Sure. Thank you.
no problem. What courses did I take outside ML? So there's usually this unsaid rule where you should probably not take all difficult courses in a semester. As in, if you take 4 courses, we should have it balanced. If you take all 4 difficult courses, you're gonna die. So usually you look for a course that's not too difficult. And in my spring semester, I took computer networks simply because I did not want to have too much of work, and I heard that's an easy course. So yeah, I took computer networks, and I also took this course called Advanced Software Engineering. And yeah. What courses do students take outside of CS? I've heard that some people take some management courses. Again, because they don't want too much course load, and you have to take a minimum of 12 credits. So you have to fill it up with something. And if you don't want a difficult course, you can take something like a management course. But it's not too common. Actually don't know. I know some people in the EC department who took management courses. I don't know anyone in CS who took a management course. What's the deadline before which we can drop a course? I think that comes sometime in the middle of the semester. So initially you have this 1 week where you can take I mean, as long as it's within the limited 21 credits, you can take as many as 21 credits, and then just go sit in all those classes and see pick whichever you like. And then by the end of the first week, there's something called the registration deadline, where you can just pick all the courses that you want and drop anything else. So that's not gonna that's not going to show up on your transcript or anything. And then after that, after you take the courses, there's something called a drop deadline, which comes in the middle of the semester. So for that, you can drop a course that you've registered for, but it's going to show on your transcript saying that you've withdrawn from that course. And also, so if you can only drop it if you already have so say you take 15 credits, you can drop 3 credits before the drop deadline. But you can't if you've already taken only 12 credits, then you don't have an option of dropping a course because you want the course load requirement is a problem. Which courses are considered easy? I've heard Intro to InfoSec is easy, apart from computer networks. What else is easy? I've heard big data systems is also pretty easy. Um, and advanced internet computing is easy. Intro to health informatics is easy. So yeah, there are quite a few, but not specifically related to the ML specialization. I think even machine learning for trading was quite easy, but that depends on how much of a grasp you have on picking up your coding skills in Python. Like I never used Python before I got here, and all the assignments were entirely in Python, but it was pretty easy. Have I taken any courses in computing systems? I think I've only taken computer networks. I think no, advanced topics in software engineering is also counted as a systems course. So that was also pretty easy. How hard is it to work on a special problem? I think special problem is not hard at all. And the professors usually understand that somebody, I mean, if you're doing a special problem, you probably don't have, it's probably your first time doing any research work. So they're not going to be too hard on you. And most of the time, they'll give you a good grade if you just show some effort, if you just turn up to their meetings, or if you look like you're trying hard enough, it should be an ECA. Do we need to do the ML course before taking up ML for trading? Not in terms of prerequisites. Okay, so I would say no, not really. You don't need to take the ML course before taking up ML for trading. He usually does go over the concepts, and it should be pretty easy. I mean, I honestly felt like my ML course had very little to do with the ML for trading, because the ML course was just math and how to derive all the algorithms and everything, and the ML for trading course they didn't really care about any of that. It might help if you just know, understand terms like supervised learning and what like the popular ML algorithms, but actually, I mean, that also doesn't matter that much because he does go over that as well. Oh, any light I can shed on graphics courses? I actually have not taken any graphics courses, but I can definitely find that out and send you an email if I know somebody. So I'll note that down. I'll try finding someone who's taken some graphics courses, and if I do, I'll send an email. What's the exam pattern? So yeah, exam pattern depends entirely on your courses again. So I'd say if you want to do any course, definitely try to first find out if they have a website for that course. Most of the time, professors do have a website for it. So there they'll tell you about all the assignments, projects, exams, and how much each of it counts. So there are certain courses where you have only assignments, no projects. Some courses where you have assignments and projects, but no midterms, no exams at all. It entirely depends on your professor and the course. And again, grading, if it's a tough course, it's often relative. So for something like ML, I think if it wasn't relative, all of us would have failed. So most of the time it is, I mean, if it's very hard, then the scoring is relative. Otherwise it's usually, I mean, otherwise it's absolute. So it depends on, again, the professor and how difficult it is. Institutions exam pattern, there's, well, the institution does, so during finals week, Georgia Tech does reserve final slot for every course, but it, like I said, it depends on the professor. So the professor can always choose not to have a midterm or a final. It doesn't. I mean, you won't necessarily have a midterm and a final for every course. I mean, I took one course where I had no exams at all, just assignments and projects. Actually, there are quite a few courses without exams. Dons is a CS master's student. Um, Maybe don't start your assignments extremely late. That's probably the one thing I can take away. But yeah, that's about it. But I mean, I do it most of the time. I always start late, and I mean, I find it really hard on the day before the deadline. So yeah, you said how almost everyone is interested in ML. Yeah, definitely. So once you come to Georgia Tech, you're gonna see that almost everyone is doing ML. Even people who aren't specializing in ML do take the ML course simply because I guess that's the field where that's a huge skill where I mean, which if you just put on your resume, you can apply to so many more jobs if you have ML as a skill. But yeah, there are a lot of people who, so I think most of the people in CS specialize in either ML or systems or sometimes interactive intelligence. But yeah, a lot of systems people also take ML courses. And I've heard, yeah, so advanced OS, HPCA, all of them are very popular courses in the system specialization. I think almost anyone who's doing systems take up that course. So advanced OS I've heard is hard. I'm not too sure about HPCA. Don't just a CS master student. Like I said, don't start assignments extremely late. And also, I would say start applying proactively for internships if you want to do an internship in the summer. Don't wait till your spring semester. Start as soon as possible. I mean, your career fair is going to start very early. You're going to get here in, say, August, and your career fair is going to be in September. So apply. I mean, try to get an internship. It's more like a do. Try to get an internship in the fall semester itself, because it's going to be very stressful if you start looking in the spring and you need an internship by the summer. And I think a lot of companies, a lot of the big names like Google, they stop recruiting in the. I mean, they don't recruit at all in the spring. You might want to apply in the fall itself. Is Isabel going to take ML this fall? No, I think Isabel takes ML only in the spring. And as a grad student, you would want. I don't think is. I think Isabel's ML is more suited for an undergrad student. So yeah, the MSML might have more people than MSCS. Actually, I don't know. I would always recommend taking an MSCS and specializing in ML, because that way you have the freedom to do other courses as well. I mean, it doesn't restrict you as much as an MSML. Yeah, so dudes look for, yeah, dudes are definitely looking for internships. That should be. I feel like I mean, I got lucky, but at the same time, I feel in getting an internship soon. But I wish I'd focused more on internship hunting than on my assignments and coursework, because your GPA doesn't matter all that much if you do well in your interviews, or if you know your algos and data structures well, you'll get a good job, even if your GPA is not all that high. And another thing is do is to definitely proactively hunt for an RA or a TA. So right away, like, don't think that just because you've not been here already, it might be too hard to get an RA or a TA. All of you should just apply. I mean, it's okay if you don't get it. Definitely apply for your first semester. Um, Career fair is just a chance to get in touch with recruiters and get shortlisted for interviews. Okay, so there are. It depends. So some recruiters, I mean, some of them come all the way from California, just for the career fair. So most of the time they won't go back without doing an interview on campus, because that's just a lot easier than them later flying you out to their office. So most of the time, once you speak to them, if you're interested in if they're interested in you, they'll call you for an interview right away, like probably 2 days later, before they go back to wherever they came from. So there are interviews that take place on campus. It again depends on the recruiters, whether they want to finish it off immediately, at least the first round. Most of the time, if they come from a different state, they finish it and then go back. So during your career fair, you should be prepared to, like, first of all, do a good pitch when you go and talk to the recruiters, and second, you should also be ready in case they call you for an interview immediately, like maybe on the next day. Has there been any noticeable change to the internship or job scenario? As far as I know, I don't think so. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. So especially, I think all of you are really lucky, because all of us are really lucky because we are in the CS department, and there's almost always an internship opportunity or a job opportunity. There's so many internship and job opportunities. So being a CS student has two advantages. Mainly, one is it's so easy. It's a lot easier to get an RA or a TA because we have so many online courses. And second, you also have a lot of internship and job opportunities. Yeah, you will definitely know which professor is taking your course. When you do register for a course, you can see the professor who's taking that course and the timing, and yeah, everything is there. So you would know. How's the startup culture in Georgia? Does it compare with that of California? Um, I would say there are a lot more startups in California than Georgia. In general, there are a lot more CS related jobs in California than Georgia. If you're talking about um, starting your own startup, then I actually don't know anyone who's done that. But you can always start in Georgia. I don't think that's a problem, but I would say that the Bay Area is the place to be for anything software related. Oh, if you have additional questions for me, then where can we reach you? You can add me on Facebook. Okay, I'm not too active on Facebook, so maybe I'll send, when I send you guys an email, I'll give you my contact number, so you can contact me on WhatsApp, or you can email me. Email also works. I have a research background, but probably won't do a PhD. So I don't think you would be at any disadvantage because you're from a research background. So that should not be a problem. You'll definitely be able to cope with the competition. You might probably be better than all of us. So it should be fine. If you have you done any internships? If yes, where? I'm currently doing an internship. It is summer here. And right now I'm interning at Electronic Arts. Oh, okay. So the pitch, yes. So a pitch is so basically during the career fair, there are going to be hundreds of people, lots of recruiter, and each recruiter is going to talk to. I mean, each recruiter is going to have to talk to so many students. So you should probably have something is called an elevator pitch. So something that's about, say, 60 seconds long, where you go them, you hand them your resume, and you probably have their attention for like, I mean, 60 seconds is I mean, I'm pretty sure they might not listen to you for 60 seconds, but try to keep it as short as possible and say anything that highlights your skills. Say, okay, so you're a master's student, you're specializing in this, you've worked in this area, and you want to apply for this type of job. So basically a pitch that would convince them that you have the skills, or you have the work, I mean, you have the experience or projects that kind of fit into what they're looking for, and then say, do you have any positions open for me? So basically you should be ready to like pinpoint certain things on your skill set or resume that they might be looking for. So because if, and make sure it doesn't go on for too long, because they're talking to so many people. So like keep it short and make sure you highlight whatever you want to highlight in that pitch. So is it why you want to work? So I don't think nobody really cares. You don't have to tell them why you want to work with them. You just basically, your pitch is you're trying to sell yourself to a recruiter. So think of it that way, and like think of all the traits they might be looking for, and like pack it together and tell it to them in a concise way. And most of the time you won't even know what that particular company is doing. You probably would have never heard of them, so you don't have to talk about why you want to work with them. Most of the time they explain what they do, the recruiters. Yes, Need for Speed. What are some must-have apps or websites bookmarked to help us at Gartech? I actually have a list, but most of it will not apply to you right now unless you actually have a Gartech ID. So I could probably send them to you. The regular stuff, there's something called T-Square where they upload all the assignments, and where you have to make your submissions. There's something called Piazza, which is a discussion forum for your courses. If you have any doubts in your assignments or projects, you can post them there. They usually have professors and teaching assistants on that forum to answer your questions for you. And then there's Buzzboard to register for classes. There's Career Buzz for your job search. There's something called Course Critique where you can see. Oh yeah, so there's something called Course Critique where you can go and look up a particular course and see how many students have got it, like the percentage of students who've gotten an A in the past, and something like, basically the course stats. So that might actually be quite helpful. So yeah, I can send all of that, but you probably won't be able to access anything to that, any of it, unless you have your Gartic ID. How do you get added to your mailing list? So I think they uploaded a form on Facebook for this particular session, and if you fill that up, I would have gotten. I have all the responses, so I basically send my email today from that list of responses. So if you haven't filled that form yet, go fill it up, and I'll take the new list of responses from that. Any must-have ML book? I honestly did not use too many of these ML books, but I think the pattern recognition book by Bishop is good. And there's another book. Let me check. Yeah, I don't have that book with me right now, but I can tell you what that is in the email. But honestly, I use most of the lecture notes. I actually really like the lectures, and most of the time you have lectures available online in case you miss it. So, and I used to actually prefer watching lectures online because the ML course was a little crazy. I would have to pause every 2 seconds and note down what he was saying. What do you plan to do with your degree after you graduate? Get a job. Yeah, that's about it. The MSCS degree from Georgia Tech actually does. It's a pretty big stamp on your resume. So that's about it. I don't. Yeah. Oh, where do I see myself in my career in 10 years? I honestly don't know. That feels like an interview question. I would say probably working in one of those smaller companies where I can contribute a lot more than like this tiny fish in a big ocean. You mentioned about the videos. Oh yeah, so that's again on T Square. So T Square is where you can upload. You have the assignment submissions. You have to submit your assignments on T Square. But apart from that, you also have the lectures uploaded, like actual class lectures uploaded in T Square. And that's not always the case though. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes these professors, they offer the course for distance learning students as well. So mainly for those students, they do upload the lectures online. Uh, a lot of the big popular courses, you can find lectures online, but not necessarily everything. Yeah, basically they record the entire class and upload it. So there'll be this one window with the slides that they're teaching from, and one side of the window has the video of the professor talking. So it's actually really good. And some courses, some of the courses are actually also offered in OMSCS, which is online masters in computer science. So those lecture videos you can actually see on Udacity. Not I think it should be open to everyone on Udacity. And those aren't videos from the class; those are actual specific recordings for an online course. Other than James Hayes, do you know any other professors? Oh, I forgot his name. Just a minute. Because I have not taken any CV courses. I heard that James Hayes actually does not even take students for a special problem unless you do a course under him. So it might be quite difficult. Wait. I think Essa is also a good option if you want to do CD. He does quite a bit of CD. And Jim Ray. You're inside about the department and the professors. Any word of caution? I wouldn't. I would say definitely. There's nothing. I mean, all the professors are really nice. Once you come here, you can go to any of their office hours, and they'll be willing to help you out with any questions you have, or they'll redirect you to a TA. So, I don't think there's any professor that you should be afraid of approaching. Like, everybody's extremely nice and helpful. Are there some sort of assistantships in OMSCS? If you're an MSCS student here, you can definitely do a TA for an OMSCS course. If you're an OMSCS student also, I know I think you can do a TA, but I don't really know how the pay or the stipend works if you're an OMSCS student. Yeah, but definitely, I mean, even if you're an OMSCS student, you can TA an OMSCS course. So I think if you're an on-campus student, you can TA both online as well as masters. I mean, as well as the on-campus courses. But if you're an OMSCA student, you can only TA an online course. Is it possible to get recruited into a company which is not in the US? Yes, it is. I do know somebody who actually went to Paris for an internship. So I would say it's not common, but yeah, it's definitely possible. You can get internships in other countries, but I would definitely recommend trying to get one in the States. I guess you would get paid more if you get an internship in the States than anywhere else. What are places or events we must go to on campus or off campus? I feel like I spent most of my life inside my room at Georgia Tech. So I don't know. I did go for all the India Club events, as in I did go for their Garba event was a lot of fun. So if you like dancing, that's definitely something I'd recommend. Their Diwali event was also fun because it's again dancing in the end. And I think there was a stand-up comedy that happened in the spring semester that I went for. Basically, just go for any event that's happening most of the time because you get free food. So just go for anything as long as you don't have too much work. Go for anything that's happening. Are all these clubs and events free? So no. If you want to join the India Club, there is a membership fee. I think it was $10. I'm not an ICGT member. No, I'm not somebody in the committee, but I think it was $10. And I think that's usually worth it because once you pay those $10, you can go for their events for free. Whereas if you're not a member, you have to pay more for their events than actually becoming a member. What are places or events you should avoid? I'm trying to think of what you should avoid. There's nothing really like that, and honestly, over here it's not like if you go for an event, you need to stay for it throughout. So even if it's something like a company that's coming here and talking about what they do, and if you maybe sit there for 5 minutes and you feel it's not interesting, or if you just went there for food and you got your food, you can just leave in between. Nobody cares. So if you go somewhere you don't like it, you can always leave. How's the work-life balance for CS students at GT? I think that depends a lot on you, I would say. If you plan your assignments well enough, you plan ahead, if you do work on time, then you definitely have time to do other stuff. But at the same time, if you procrastinate, then you're going to be in trouble. How hectic are your days given that you took ML? What about weekends? So, I mean, I'm probably not the right person to answer because I would always just cramp everything for the last moment. So, most of the time, my deadlines, especially in the first semester, almost all my deadlines were at midnight on Sunday. So, almost all my weekends, I'd be doing assignments. I wouldn't really go out that much. So, you should just, I mean, you definitely can. I mean, I wouldn't discourage you from going out as long as if you plan it right and if you do your work on time, you'll have plenty of time to go out. Is there a specific process to apply for a TA? Like, is there a call for it? Just email your professor. Yeah, even if it's OMS, CS, everything, just email your professor. Say you want to do a course. Say you want to TA for this course. Say if you've already done the course, say you've done the course and you did well in it. If you haven't, then say you've worked in that area, or basically something to convince them that you can do a TA for that course. And if you're already on campus and say you're applying for the second semester, you should email them and definitely go and talk to them in person because they might not always check their emails. Are there any places where we can stay on campus overnight? Yeah, definitely. I mean, campus is in general quite safe. So I know a lot of people who stay overnight in one of the campus buildings. You can stay in the library. I mean, there's even a shower in that building, so you can stay for days during your finals week. Is it 3 hours lecture a week per subject? Usually, yeah, it is 3 hours. There might be exceptions. Oh, I'm actually not sure about the U-Lock and how much you should spend because I don't have a bike, but I could check. I mean, I don't think you need to spend that much on U-Lock. Again, I guess it depends on where you want to leave your bike, where you stay. So I will probably ask somebody who has a U-Lock. Okay. Okay. Is there any? I'll probably take a final question before I end this. It's probably quite late for you guys. 11:45. A brief description about the different clubs at Kartik. What are the different clubs? Yeah, there is actually a club for almost anything you can think of. I mean, I'm pretty sure there is a music club. There are lots of dance teams. There is the India Club. I think almost for most of the popular countries there is a club. But yeah, I've not been too involved. I mean, I used to be involved in a lot of clubs in my undergrad, but not too many here. So, oh yeah, there's something called I think the Student Alumni Association as well. Yeah, there are quite a few. You'll see when you come here. I don't think you need to worry about that. 3 hours lecture or two. So yeah, basically 3 hours per week. So either you can have 1 hour lectures. So that means you'll have it 3 days a week, or you can have an hour and a half lectures, which happen twice a week. How often do people stay overnight inside the campus? It depends on like the time, like when in the semester you're talking about. So if it's somewhere towards the finals, so many people stay in campus. Like the library is probably like the most bustling place in Georgia Tech during the finals week. But I mean, if it's probably during the first half of the semester, not that many. But it's okay. I mean, if you're on campus, I mean, if you stay in one of the buildings, it's not unsafe. So even if I think there were a few nights when I was literally the only person in the entire building. So it's okay. How should we make the most of our time at Kartik? Definitely try to take courses under really good professors. say, I mean, right now there's Dhruv Batra who's in Georgia Tech who's taking deep learning, and he's a legend in deep learning. So you won't really get that opportunity anywhere else. So take courses under really good professors, maybe try your hand in research, do at least one special problem. Even if you don't like it, at least you'll figure out whether you like it or not through that special problem. And then I guess, yeah, also because you're at Georgia Tech, most of the recruiters also really like that. So apply to as many places as possible. They're going to like the fact that you're from Caltech. And also, yeah, make sure you like spend some time like not doing assignments and just having fun with other people. What's the best way to utilize our time before we get there? I would honestly say have as much fun as you can before you get here. Like, I mean, once you get here, you're gonna have to study anyway. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, you're welcome, everybody. And again, congrats on getting into Georgia Tech. And if you have any more questions, you can email me, and I will try to get all the questions that I didn't answered, and email all of you again. And yeah, I'll also send you my contact in case you want to text me on WhatsApp. And yes, you can contact me on Facebook as well, but I might not reply immediately. I don't check Facebook that often. So, okay, thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.